Are your homeowners insurance premiums going to go up? Are they a huge factor when moving into the Sacramento area? Tonight, we're bringing on Javier Ortiz. He is a home insurance specialist. He's a guru, guys, and he's one of those guys every realtor has on speed dial because home insurance, fire insurance is one of those things that's on everybody's lips currently with everything going on. We're going to talk a little bit about what areas you should watch out for. We're going to talk about new homes versus resale homes. We're going to be talking about grandfathered in, cash buyers, investors. We're going to hit all the hard questions so you're going to know exactly what to expect in 2025 regarding home insurance. Let's get into it, guys. All right, guys. I'm going to let Javier take center stage because I got a lot of questions. Now, if you guys are basically, let's say you purchase a home, you're thinking about coming to Sacramento, you're thinking about buying anywhere in California, Javier is a man, the myth, the legend around here. Every realtor's got him on speed dial. He's going to be able to answer your questions. Are you maybe new builds, maybe resale, maybe like a luxury home, caps, all that stuff. Javier, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Just, going with the flow.
So talk to us a little bit about what we're looking at with everything that's going on as far as what people have to freak out about.
Well, I'm pretty sure that policies are probably going to go up. Not right away because it takes a while to file rate increases with the Department of Insurance. But I think after all the fires cease, they're going to evaluate how much loss the insurance company took. And the only way to recover from that loss is they got to raise everybody's premiums up in California, right? So it just depends what carriers took on. Like I heard State Farm and Travelers and Chubb had like the most risk. So I'm pretty sure they're going to take huge rate increases sometime in the next 12 months.
All right. Well, Aaron, you and I will go back and forth. So you fire the next question, Javier.
What do you think this is going to do to the FAIR plan, being that, just the Pacific Palisades alone is like $6 billion in exposure to the FAIR plan. And they've got $200 million in cash, plus I've heard 500 million in reinsurance up to 2 billion, but I don't believe the 2 billion because the last report when they did the meeting was the 500. So they got 900 million maybe, and they've got 6 billion plus in losses. Is that just going to blow the FAIR plan up or what?
Definitely going to blow it up. I think they're going to force a bunch of insurance companies to throw more money at it, right, in order to be able to write in California, because the California FAIR plan is essentially it's a fund, right? That insurance companies throw, State Farm, Farmers, Mercury, all these companies throw money into it, and depending on their total loss, they're going to have to either probably get bailed out or have insurance companies throw more money in there, right? But I'm pretty sure that the rates will probably go up in the next 12 months for sure.
Boy. Don't you think that'll also send a bunch of insurance companies out, like how a lot of them pulled out or they've stopped issuing new policies? They got to make money, right? They're a business after all.
Yeah. So I heard through the grapevine, I don't know if it's true or not, but State Farm supposedly was supposed to come back in 2027. After this, I don't even know, right? I know that companies are getting stricter, like the days of, it was already strict, like from when on the insurance market crashed, but now, sometimes you got to submit risks now, right? They want to review all the brush mapping. They want to make sure that everything has 100 feet of defensible space because of the Palisades fires, right? These are just regular homes. They're mansions but they're in like a community, right? Kind of like tract homes, but just huge houses, right? And to see a whole community just be blown away by just fire definitely makes insurance companies concerned, right? Especially like the newer builds. Not the newer builds are bad, but they just want to evaluate every risk now, right? It seems like they're trying to make sure that everything qualifies with a defensible space.
How does this impact like a normal house, like a normal person, like someone in Sacramento, someone in Roseville, never really had problems? Is it something that you're gradually going to see an increase on your bill? You might not even see it. What does that look like? Is it everyone's premiums? Is it only the people who are in the danger zones? How does that look like for your just average Joe? I got a house in Rosemont, never had issues. Are they going to notice anything?
They'll probably notice a 10-15% rate increase because insurance companies, they have to raise everybody's rate, right? They just can't focus on certain areas like, oh, well, you live here, so you're going to pay more than these people. All they do is flat out, they're like, okay, we're going up 15% across the board all over California. And then they will choose to either stay on some of those risks or say, you know what, we don't really want to chance it, so we might non-renew these people, right? and I was talking to you guys. So non-renewals, insurance companies usually give people 6 months saying, hey, by the way, you no longer qualify per our guidelines. You have 6 months to find new insurance, right? So nobody ever gets left high and dry like, oh, by the way, you're canceled tomorrow. There's usually time allowed for you to go find some coverage, right? So but I'm pretty sure that every home's going to go up 10, 15% in the next 12 months for sure.
All right, Aaron, you're up.
What do you think that's going to do to home prices? Because obviously, you know, everybody, you know, is, from all different income levels, they're facing, you know, higher interest rates, higher real estate prices. And although the supply and demand continues to just stay true to, you know, just the foundation of economics, at a certain point, you know, there's going to need to be, you know, a shift. I feel like but just before this live, I did just some quick math. And if your premium went up $100 a month, so $1,200 a year, that's the equivalent of basically like 0.5% in mortgage rate or $30,000 in mortgage loan on a $500,000 deal. So it's like, how do you think this is going to impact everything now that it's going to get more expensive?
Right. I definitely think that you should get a quote on every home you're looking to buy, right? Every home is going to be different, right? Based on your build, just, you know, whether there's one or two homes on a lot, there's a lot of variables. But yeah, you know, I was talking to you earlier about the story about this home in Sacramento, 700 square feet, and it's like $1,400 a year, but it's an older home, like 1920s, right? So I think it's going to get a little tough, right?
Speaking of 1920s, can you explain to everybody how basically like the reason why like the older the house, the more expensive it is?
Yes. So there is, it's called replacement cost, right? When you're doing a replacement cost on a home, homes that are 1940 and older usually have better building material, you know, like they have better wood. So the cost to rebuild those homes and to upgrade them, say you had a house that was built in 1930 and you didn't really do too many upgrades to it, but it was a total loss due to a fire. To rebuild that house is going to cost more than a house, you know, same square footage house built in 1970, right? Because the building materials, the wood, there's more craftsmanship, there's crown molding, things like, you know, the doors are solid oak, you know, versus the regular party board that you know, these doors are made of nowadays. So older homes cost more to rebuild.
Okay. How about, let's segue into this then. If someone, because a lot of our market is people looking for new homes, do you ever see a community, like how do new homes factor in? You know, and also there are some new homes, like for example, like Ridgeview. There are some companies out there building, like Blue Mountain is building and rescue. Like, what does that look like?
So, I mean, obviously you guys know I'm a broker, right? So I have a bunch of companies that will still write really, really, really good, solid, inexpensive premiums for some of these developments, right? As long as it fits the criteria they're looking for, like defensible space, the home is on public water, there's a fire station within 5 miles, there's multiple access points to a home. Like I just did a home, there's a new development in Pine Grove and it was like $2,000 and they're like blown away because it qualified for this company, right? So as long as these new builds, as long as it qualifies, like you get pretty good, decent rates, especially in El Dorado Hills and Folsom. You know, there's companies that, you know, people are always used to the names, right? State Farm, Farmers, the big names. But as a broker, we have access to more companies that people have never heard about. So at first they're kind of like sketched out. They're like, oh, well, I've never heard of this company. And I'm like, well, here's some information, do some research. And they're like, you know what? I'd rather go with this policy than take a gamble on the California Fair Plan. California Fair Plan is not bad. Sometimes the California Fair Plan makes sense because even though you get a quote approved with a regular company, the Fair Plan plus the regular insurance might be significantly cheaper than going with a regular policy, you know? So I just present options and say, here's a couple options. Here's a Fair Plan quote. Here's a quote from another company called SageSure. You pick, and then we go from there.
But new homes, for the most part, though, are pretty slam dunks, right?
New homes are pretty slam dunks, yes, and they're really, really inexpensive. Like my average premium's like $600-700 a year for homeowners insurance on a brand new construction build, which is amazing.
All right, Aaron, you're up.
So, you know, you mentioned a few different communities that are, you know, in like high fire zones, Rescue, Pine Grove, you know, those areas. And it sounded like I didn't know there was a new development in Pine Grove, but I know which ones you're talking about in Rescue. So what about, a lot of times, like a new community in a rural area isn't, it's kind of like few and far between. It's much more, a lot of people are buying lots and building a custom home. So in those circumstances, like if I'm on a well or gravel road or anything, I'm like just sanctioned to the worst insurance, or like how's that kind of work?
Yeah, I mean, most companies that will take on the risk of writing you on one policy, the minute that your home is on a well and there's no public water, they're like, nope, they don't want to take on that protection class. So that disqualifies you from those companies. But if your home is on a public water and has a hydrant, then you submit and call the underwriters and say, hey, this policy, look at this property, defensible space, blah 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 blah, and they'll be like, oh yeah, we'll take on this risk. But if you're building a brand, people call me all the time, like, hey, I'm going to buy this lot in Placerville or El Dorado, like old El Dorado, not El Dorado Hills, but El Dorado. And then first question I ask them, are you going to have well or is it going to be public water? Oh, well. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to get like the worst case. I give them like the worst case scenario, right? Depending on what kind of square footage they want to build. People always ask me, what's it going to cost me? And I'm like, well, how big is the house going to be, right? But the water thing's a big factor, because if your house is on a public water and it's rural, then you still might be able to qualify for preferred rates.
Okay. Pamela Jones has a question. I heard that California needs to be labeled or homes as fireproof. Would that help lower the insurance costs? A home being deemed as fireproof. What do you think?
I mean, fireproof, unless your house is built out of cement, it's not frame, right? It's cement, it's blocks, and the outside is cement. Those policies do get preferred rates, because if there's a fire comes through, like, it's probably not going to burn down, right? Because of the cement. So having cement fiber, they give you slight discounts for those kind of things, right? But usually all the homes are built out. They're always frame and they have cement siding. I mean, that's as far as, and having like a metal roof or tile roof, those give you those give you some kind of discounts, but the biggest one is having your house made out of masonry. Like, it's a huge rate deduction, especially on the California Fair Plan. I mean, I did a quote for somebody and it went from like $7,000 for the Fair Plan to $2,000 just because it was made out of cement, and it was like out in the middle of nowhere. So that's a huge thing, right? The cement thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I got one more question, and we'll jump right back into it. Crypto Bobby says, are there any sub $1 million luxury homes on 28 to 3,200 square feet in Rockland? I say the closest you're going to find is probably Rockland Meadows by New Home Company, if they're still selling, and I'm not sure if they are. I would say JMC, you'd probably be looking at Whitney Ranch. And they're two smaller communities, and then you'd be looking at Anthem. But again, luxury is so subjective. So you got to check out those homes for yourself and see what they're all about. Okay, Javier, this is a big one. This is going to take a little while. Areas. Like, what areas? If someone's like new to Sacramento, they're like, yeah, man, I'm moving to Sacramento. And they're looking at it and going like, I've been here in California, fire, home insurance. Like, what areas, like cities, suburbs, like what are some areas that you'd say like, what are you good? What are you not? You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like?
I mean, all areas are good, right? It just depends whether you want to pay for the insurance or not, right? Obviously, when you get towards the more rural side of things, or if your house is like the last briquet before like it hits like open fields, right? So like if you live anywhere and behind you it's just open fields, whether it's Lincoln, whether it's Rockland, whether it's Granite Bay, whether it's Roseville, like some companies are going to consider that to be high fire now, right? And they're like, no, it's too close to proximity to defensible space, right? I mean, it's just a matter of what you want to pay, we got lucky sometimes in Granite Bay, on like older Granite Bay, right, where it's a community. I'm like, oh wow, like Mercury will take this, and it's $1,700. I'm like, cool, But then somebody down the street, it's like nobody will take it. And it's California Fair Plan, right? So all areas are good. It just depends on if you want to pay those premiums or not.
All right, Eric, what do you got?
Can you tell us a bit about how insurance companies are using satellite images and even drone footage to basically like confirm that, like if I'm telling them I've got a sports car that, I keep in my garage, but really it's like on the side of my house under a tarp or something like that, they're going to catch me basically, right?
Yeah. I mean, I tell people, always ask me this question, right? And when you first buy a house, every company now does an inspection, right? People call me all the time like, hey, I just bought this house. I'm doing an inspection. Can I use my inspection that I paid for? And I'm like, no, because insurance companies look for something completely different, right? They want to make sure there's no trees touching the roof lines. But over time, they will do Google Earth imagery, right? A lot of people just, this is what I think. I think they trained AI to just pull up Google imagery views of every policy they have. They trained it and it just flags it if they think that whether there's moss, and sometimes it's just a shadow, right? So companies will send, hey, we're going to not renew your policy because you have moss. And, people call me, say, hey, I'm getting moss. I'm like, well, and then I show them the picture. I'm like, it's a shadow. I'm like, send me a picture, So I'm for the people. I want to get them their policies reinstated. But yeah, people are flying drones over. They want to make sure your house is free of clutter. They don't want debris on there but these are potential hazards that can, create claims, right? If you have a bunch of garbage and, wood and rocks in your backyard and you have people over and some kids and somebody trips and falls and, hurts himself, you're going to get sued. So insurance companies want to avoid that. So they're like, hey, by the way, we did this random audit of your house, and this is what we found out. We're going to non-renew you, but usually they just want you to clean it up, provide proof that you've actually cared and taken care of it. And with pictures, they'll rescind those non-renewals.
Okay. All right. We got some questions, which we love. What's it called? We got fire insurance, everything east of Folsom.
What's the question?
Like, what does it look like east of Folsom? Like, if you're in Folsom, like east of Folsom, like, what does that look like? For me, I'm always like weary of being close to Folsom Lake. Is that kind of right?
Yeah, Folsom Lake, like parts of American Canyon now, you're starting to see people get non-renewed, or if they're non-renewed, they get like these crazy renewal premiums where like they're kind of forcing you to shop around, right? They're like, well, here's your renewal at $7,000 now. You're paying $4,000 before. So they kind of want you. They're like, we'll shop around. Some people were like, that's crazy. I'm not going to pay that. So we'll shop it around. Or people that get referred to me, I try to find the best deal. And it's like, here's what I have, right? But the more you are closer to wooded areas, or you're to the greenbelt, or trees, it's going to be expensive, right? Because they're pulling Google imageries and they're like, oh, we don't want to take on this risk, especially because of the fire. I think they're going to be a little stricter now.
I will tell you one thing I like about Folsom specifically is it seems to have really smart positioning of fire stations, right?
Yeah.
Like right before you go, Lakeview Communities right there. They got a new community, Folsom Ranch, fire station right there. It seems like they're very strategic about where they put stuff. What do you think of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I look at properties, the first thing I do is map out the fire stations. It's like, oh, this house has like 5 stations within less than 5 miles, right? So I mean, insurance in Folsom is still affordable, right? You might get a quote for $2,000. You might get a quote for $1,500. Very seldomly do you see quotes that get really, really expensive, unless you're trying to buy a 5,000 square foot home, custom home, right? Then you're going to pay the appropriate premiums for that kind of house, right? But your regular, 2-story, 2004 built tract home is still going to cost you, $1,500-$1,600, which is pretty good.
That's not bad. All right, Aaron, what do you got?
Tell us about how a previous homeowner's insurance claim history can impact my ability. Like I didn't own the house and now I'm buying the house, but somehow the previous person is impacting how much I got to pay for insurance. How's that work?
Yeah. So once again, all insurance companies run algorithms. So if you're buying a house and the previous owner reported, a couple of water claims, right? There's a dishwasher water claim, they're called accidental discharges, right? Say you have a dishwasher and then like 2 years later, the washer in the washroom, right? So it flooded the washroom, right? So there's 2 water claims on a property within the last 3 to 5 years. Insurance companies are going to run algorithms, and the probability of it happening again might be high. So they're like, you know what? We're just going to pass on this house. So me as a broker, then I just got to submit and talk to underwriters and get stuff approved. And most of the time I make it happen. And I'm like, hey, by the way, I got this thing approved. Here you go. But claims, people always call me when I have clients that call me like, hey, this happened to my house. Should I file a claim? I give people the pros and cons. I'm like, this could happen. This could happen. Your rates could go up. If you try to sell your house, it could affect the next buyer. So filing claims isn't a bad thing. You just got to be smart and selective and make sure that it's going to be something that's going to be worth it, right? Sometimes when I'm doing a quote for somebody, I'll see claims on the home and it's like $1,000, $700 from the previous owner. And I'm like, well, great, for $1,700 now, these people are going to have to pay heftier premiums, maybe $200-300 more, $400 more a year to get them qualified for that home, right? Or there's some companies just like, nah, we don't want to take the risk. We're good. We'll pass.
Hey, let me ask you something before we get on the next question. Like you had mentioned to me that you had quotes and then they need to reassess the quotes. What happened there? Like what you had quotes, I guess, and then the LA fires happened and then they had to reassess. So what does that look like? What happened exactly?
Well, they were new builds and they were approved, but now they're like, oh, now we require 100 feet of defensible space, right? So it's having to look at the community, right? So when I refer quotes over to underwriting, I always include the community name, right? Like, hey, they're buying James C. Homes. Here's the community they're buying, and then I send them the website so they could actually view, right, all the homes, what they're doing. But yeah, they're just kind of going with I think they're just freaked out, right? So they're like, we want to review all these that were approved before that were new builds. But I mean, everything worked out. I was just stressed out for a couple of days, but everything ended up working out, right? So yeah.
Okay, so how about this one? Aaron, hit that story about Dennis Quaid too and talk about the maximum limit on the California Fair Plan. I also want to ask you, how many people in LA are going to receive their maximum payment for what their house is? Like how's that whole thing work?
Yeah.
Aaron, what was that question? Go for it.
So as long as you have the correct endorsements on the California Fair Plan, the max payout is $3 million, right? So you have $3 million to spread out between your dwelling coverage, if you have other structures, or people sometimes sacrifice their other structures, which they might have a pool house, they might have a guest house. They're like, oh, I don't care about that. I want to focus on the main house and your personal belongings. And then there's also the part that pays for you to live somewhere else, right? All the coverages, which is coverage A, B, C, D, the max is $3 million. So I watched that interview yesterday with Dennis Quaid as well, where he's self-insuring the rest of his house, because I'm pretty sure his house was maxed out at $3 million. So he has to come out of pocket and pay the remaining to rebuild his house, right? Which I think that obviously people that have money probably did that, right? They self-insured, like, hey, we'll max out this coverage and I will self-insure for the rest.
Interesting. What do you got, Aaron?
So obviously, one of the big questions you probably get, I get it all the time when I'm, pre-qualing people for home loans and, I gotta guess on insurance and stuff. What are the tricks that you can kind of do to reduce that annual premium, with, the deductible trick and the other things that you can kind of do to reduce the pain a little bit?
Yeah. So most people these days are doing higher deductibles. They'll do a $2,500 deductible. They'll do a $5,000 deductible, right? To offset some of the costs. And insurance companies now, especially the ones that I work with, they're encouraging you to bundle, right? They want to have your home and your auto, and that'll maximize your discounts, right? Doing a true bundle through one of the carriers that still, a lot of carriers have pulled away from doing auto or home or vice versa, right? But if you get a true bundle through a carrier that's offering home and auto, you'll save tons of money, right? Most homeowners policies give you a 13% discount. So whatever the rate is, you take off 13% off of that, right? And then your auto gets another 20% discount as well. And then if you do a higher deductible, you do a $5,000 deductible and you bundle your home and auto, that rate's going to come down significantly, like, $500, $600, right? But just by just doing those things as well, so you want to shop and get the best deal.
What do you think? And we had a question here. What about Plumas Lake? What do you think about the Plumas Lake, Linda? Go for it.
Plumas Lakes, Olivehurst, all those brand new builds up there, still really, really affordable. I do a bunch of new builds by Cressley up in Plumas Lakes, and they're $600, $700, really, really inexpensive. And then you bundle your home on top of that, saves you another, $60, $70. You're getting a policy for $600 that's going to cover you for $500,000, which is phenomenal. But those areas, they're still really, really affordable for homeowners insurance. 12, because they're all they're newer homes, right? They're like 2010 and newer. Especially if you buy a house that's 2011 and newer, then you have the interior sprinkler discount, right? And that'll save you a bunch of money as well, right? So yeah, so those areas are really good. People always call me about Plymouth Lakes and Olivehurst, concerned about flood zone. It's not in a flood zone. I know it's by the Orville Dam, but it's not considered a flood zone area. So yeah, really, really good areas.
What are possible flooding areas in Sac? How about that? I know like Natomas, but as far as flood insurance, but as far as like what I have read and what I know is basically based on FEMA assessing the aqueduct technology. Like, what are areas that you commonly run into where people are doing claims on flooding?
You know what? Not that many. Honestly, there are parts. What zip code is it? Like 95829 that just got put into a flood zone, which is like off of like Auburn and like 80. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And that place is known to flood, right? So like the FEMA just moved them. It's kind of funny. So FEMA just recently moved people into flood zones and took people out of flood zones that shouldn't have never been in the flood zone. Obviously, Natomas is always going to require flood insurance. The 95833, 95834, 95835 zip code is always going to require flood insurance until, they deem that the levees are good enough to get rid of it. So, they've been working on that for years. So, I don't know if it'll ever go away. And now flood insurance in Natomas is based on every property. So if I live there and Aaron lived there, my flood insurance could be $500, and he lives 2 houses down, his insurance could be $700. Now it's based on latitude and longitude of how close you are to a body of water that determines the rate of the house. Yeah, it's crazy.
So as far as insurance, one more and then I'll hit Aaron. Like, as far as insurance goes for people moving into the Sacramento area, do you see it ever letting off, or do you see it just something that's continuously going to increase? Like, what does that look like? Because, a lot of people are like, I want to get that house. What does that look like?
You're talking about flood insurance?
No. Home insurance. No, like as far as premiums, as far as home insurance policies, like what does that look like for someone who says, you know what, I'm going to buy a house in Roseville? Are they going to look at a steady increase? Is there ever going to be like a kind of like some kind of stuff happening in California to maybe ease it off a little bit? What does that look like? Because a lot of people want to know, okay, I'm buying this house. It's not on the FLAIR plan. Am I going to get pushed to the FAIR plan? Are my premiums just going to continuously get increased every single year until finally I say, like, I can't afford it? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. I don't think I'm not going to say ever, right? I don't think it'll ever happen, right? Where like, if you live in Roseville, like they're going to raise your rates significantly. I don't think it'll ever happen, but your policy will gradually go up naturally every year based on inflation, because the cost to rebuild and building materials go up, right? So not that your premiums are going up because the insurance company is raising their rates. Is because, say you buy a house and you're insured $500,000 this year to rebuild. Next year you might be at $515,000 to rebuild. So naturally your premiums are going to go up, $20, $30, $40. But if your policy, your policy could go up 20% depending on that company's profit and loss, right? So if a company takes huge losses, the only way to recover from those losses is by raising everybody's rates across the board.
Okay. Aaron, what do you got?
Hey, let's take it back to flood insurance real quick. So last year, I helped maybe like half a dozen or so people buy a place in Cameron Park. And we were surprised initially. And then after the first round, I knew what the game was. But can you talk about how there's flood insurance in places that you would never think in a million years that you would have flood insurance, like fire insurance up there? Sure, I could see that. But what's up with that?
Obviously when it rains and the snow melts, right? It creates like there are streams and there are little rivers, pocketed rivers that known to flood, right? If it takes on too much water, right? So there are parts of Cameron Park, there's parts of Carmichael, Citrus Heights that require flood insurance, because when it does rain a lot, because when it rains in Sacramento, it will rain, right, for a few days straight. So, and these places get saturated with water and there's nowhere to go. So it does flood, right? Just flood insurance, it's just based on the zone. There's different zonings for flood insurance. It's based on like alphabet, like AE, AO, just depending on like how the severity is if it really rains your house, the probability of your house flooding, right? So yeah, those places do have flood insurance. And I wrote a policy there a few years ago. I thought it was wild too, because I didn't know about it, because I don't know floodplains, right? So when I was helping this client out, he's like, "Oh, I need flood." I'm like, "In Cameron Park?" I didn't know about it either. But yeah, there are pockets of Cameron Park that flood when it rains excessively.
So a follow up
right.
on flood insurance. Can you explain what is not covered in regular homeowners insurance? Because most people think they're covered for everything, and that's
Yeah.
totally not the case, right?
Yeah. So flood insurance, so homeowners insurance will never cover earthquake and will never cover flood. And flood means that if water enters your premise from the outside through the ground, right? So if say it rains and for some reason the drainage in your neighborhood is stuck with like leaves and debris and water starts entering your house, that's considered flood. There's no coverage for that kind of stuff, right? So homeowners insurance covers the big things, covers any kind of fire, wind damage, water damage. It covers leaking roofs, if the pipe bursts in your house, the liability, the vandalism, and the theft, right? Everything else, the flood and earthquake, is not covered by homeowners insurance. Those are supplemental policies you got to purchase on your own. Unless they're required by your lender, then, then they get paid through escrow as well, right?
We had another statement actually. With climate change and global warming, fires will be moving inward down from the foothills. I think it does feel warmer, and I have been noticing, it's just getting hotter here. The other thing too that drives me crazy, and I think that and I know this is going to probably lose me at least 10 subscribers saying this, is fireworks. I get it. They're fun. But every time when we are in 4th of July season, it just correlates completely to a big fire around here. Have you noticed that? It's just the craziest thing. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. I was young a long, long time ago, back when the dinosaurs ruled. But I mean, it's just, what do you think of that?
Dude, it's Operation Desert Storm for a whole week out here in the city, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, during those times, I kind of freak out, because I've had clients call me the day after 4th of July and say, "Hey, by the way, I need to file a claim." I'm like, "What happened?" "Oh, my next door neighbor lit a firework and it came into my garage and burned my garage down." I'm like, "Great," That's always my biggest fear, is people getting hurt, my clients getting hurt, or calling me like, "Hey, this person lit up a firework and caught on my roof and now my house burned down," right? So I get anxiety during fire season, excessive wind season, and 4th of July, because I'm like, great, I hope none of my clients, get in trouble, by somebody lighting off fireworks, right?
Yeah. All right. We got Monty. Oh, go for it.
I just had a question on that. So how in that scenario, let's say, so I live in a court, for instance, and on the 4th, everybody goes in the center of the court, and that's where they're lighting everything off. So from an insurance standpoint, my insurance company's like, "Dude, your property line ended at the sidewalk, buddy. The center of the court, that's not our deal." So who's liable? Is it the neighbor that fired that off, or is it is the homeowner that got their garage burnt down? Is the insurance company going to eat it? How's that work?
Yeah, I mean, in this case, the insurance company paid for his garage, but I'm sure he probably went after. I'm sure they probably, went after the renter that was living in his neighbor's house, right? Insurance company, if that were to happen to you, if somebody lit a firework off, right? Illegal one, and your house caught on fire, the insurance, you would be, if you have homeowners insurance, your insurance company would cover that, and they would investigate and find out who. They would ask, try to find out who lit it and try to go after that person for lighting off an illegal firework, right? Because insurance company wants to recover their money back that they're spending. So if someone lights a illegal firework, and they find out who it is, insurance company could go after the other carrier, the other person, say, "Hey, by the way, you lit on a firework. You're going to file a claim against your insurance to pay us back," right? So yeah.
All right, we got one from Monica. Is Tri Point building a new community in Folsom Ranch? They have new construction banners near the empty lot, by Atwell Apartments. Yeah, I think they're building a new community, but I think it's gonna be more like patio homes. I had a client who was interested in like that. They're promoting it in a weird way, but I think they're gonna be like 2-bedroom, 2 baths in the 500s. And she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kind of wait for that." I'm like, "You got to understand, anything, even a patio home, even a condo in Folsom in the 5s, the feeding frenzy is going to be insane. That 5 is going to be 6 in a matter of like a week." So I was like, if you want to, that's great, but good luck with that. All right, we got another one. Is there any chance of getting out of the FAIR plan in rural I got to learn how to speak one of these days. I promise I will. Getting out of the FAIR plan in rural areas like Auburn and Colfax?
As of right now, I'm going to have to say hard no, right? Me, as an agent, I keep a close eye on things, right? So if I'm doing quotes for people and I see some places softening up, then I will try all the markets again. But usually it's going to be the FAIR plan, especially in the rural areas. If you were like in town Colfax or in town Auburn, and like I said, you met the criteria where your house is on public water, fire station, and there's multiple access points to get to your home, your policy could be $1,200, $2,000, right? But when you get rural and it's just right now, they don't have a solution for those and nobody wants to take on risk. So for now on, it's just going to be California FAIR plan. That's my opinion. That's
Eric.
Price goes up as soon as the word rural gets involved in the mix, man. Hey, so talk about how if I know about something, like for instance, if it looked like my tree was starting to lean over, and I actually, one of my good buddies did this, and his wife called me while he was on the phone with the insurance company, and I was like, hang up the phone. But if I know about something and I basically didn't prevent it, am I liable, or is the insurance company going to pay for it? How's that work?
I mean, if it's documented, like for example, if my neighbor had a tree that was leaning, and I went to tell them like, hey, by the way, your tree is looking kind of suspect. It's leaning towards my house, and they do nothing about that, right? And then the tree falls on my house. I could technically file a claim against them and say, hey, I advised your client about this tree this date, and they did nothing about that. So they could be held responsible for that tree, right?
What if it's my tree though? Like it's in my yard.
If it's your tree, I mean, unless they get like some arborists to come out and check it out and say that your tree was rotten and it was dead and you should have cut it down years ago, they could give you some pushback, but usually not,
All right, we got one from
you as a homeowner. So you as a homeowner want to do the best that you can to prevent things, right? So if you do see your trees dead, I mean, I would just avoid that headache or being nervous that causing some damage and being unsure if it's going to be covered or not, right? I would just hire somebody and cut it. That's what I would do.
Yeah, his insurance company told him, now that we know about it, that's you for preventative maintenance, and so he had to have a tree company come out the next day and take care of it.
Yeah, so whenever you call the insurance company for anything, right? If you call them and say, hey, my dishwasher flooded, but I want to see if there's coverage. And the minute you say that, the insurance company, whether they cover that claim or you withdraw the claim, they're still going to want proof that you actually fixed that, right? So some people will get non-renewed for calling the insurance company to report a water claim and then finding out that the water damage isn't going to be expensive to fix. So they're like, you know what? I'm going to fix it myself. The insurance company is going to send you letters in the mail saying, hey, by the way, we know you called about this claim. Please provide us proof that you fixed this before we offer you a renewal. And that happens a lot, actually.
All right. We got a question though. How's the Natomas market? Homes on Zillow are getting 3 times the views in a few days. Is this normal? I'd say right now Natomas is a little light when it comes to new homes, so it could be getting a little extra activity. I know there is a little bit of a buzz right now in the real estate market. Aaron, you're getting applications, right, and all that stuff too. It's a weird market. I will tell you though, inventory is still anemic. New home is kind of like their incentives are kind of going away. Interest rates are still above 7 in most cases. So it's a bizarre market, as in like it shouldn't be this busy, but it is. I can't really explain it. As far as Natomas goes, I think maybe you're just seeing the fact that it's lighter a little bit in new homes, but I would say that that's kind of odd. I haven't heard anything majorly about, oh my God, Natomas is blowing up. I think Natomas is probably doing okay. I still love Natomas. Airport, downtown, great location, great price point, cheaper than Elk Grove. You don't have to deal with the competition. I like it. I just haven't heard too much about it. How about you, Aaron?
We still have population increase, so you've got pent up demand. There's a housing shortage in every single market, and even though it's hard to wrap your head around, like, how the hell are people buying these houses? Why aren't there 12 months of inventory? The facts are just there's too many of us and there's too few houses, and so even with these not necessarily super favorable conditions, we still, have a really high demand. We keep having people get into escrow. It was like as soon as what was it? I think on was it the second or the third, the Friday right before or right after New Year's. I think it was the third. As soon as like that weekend hit, it was like all of a sudden everybody's like, all right, it's 2025. I thought 2024 or 2023 was going to be my year. I'm sick of waiting. I want to do something. Also, and this is, just anecdotal, but several of our clients are using crypto for their down payment. And it happens to be that crypto went bonkers over the last like 6 to 12 months. So I've been reading a lot about how there's going to be a lot more spending because of the money that's come in from crypto. So maybe that's a little bit of it too, creating the demand.
I don't know, but I mean, I'll tell you one thing though, and this is something that I truly believe, and I talk to Javier and Aaron about this all the time. I think that Sacramento, best bang for your buck in California. I mean, an hour and 20 minutes, you're skiing, you're close to everything. I haven't felt an earthquake in Sacramento just yet. And I was in the big one in 89 and the one in Northridge, so I'm not a big fan of earthquakes. I think Sacramento still has so much growth potential. I think all the new home development, the jobs being the state capital and everything too. So I think that if someone is thinking California and they're not looking at Sacramento, they're crazy. I still think we got it all. What do you think, Javier?
Sacramento's, I think it's up and coming again, right? We're supposed to be getting the new stadium at the train tracks, right? Or the rail yard. We have the Oakland A's playing here for the next couple of years, and they're trying to keep them here, So I think Sacramento's going to be booming in the next 3 years for sure. Maybe double size. I don't know, but with all the stuff going on downtown, all the cool stuff happening downtown, all the sports, the arena, like Sacramento's thriving.
Hey guys, if you guys are enjoying the broadcast, if you're enjoying talking to Javier and Aaron live here and getting all your questions answered, please smash that like button. It would mean a lot to me, a lot to the YouTube algorithm, and also would show Javier and Aaron that you appreciate their time. Javier is the man, the myth, the legend when it comes to home insurance. He is the guy that I've actually had clients with me, and I said, I bet you my guy can beat your guy. Put my phone down, and Javier went to work, and they're like, my God, it took him 2 weeks to get me something. So Javier's just that good. And Aaron, you've seen him on the show a lot. Mortgage broker extraordinaire. I mean, he has low rates. He shops all programs, and he knows the area like the back of his hand. So both these guys are amazing. Like I said, every person I bring on the show, I basically would work with, have worked with, and I just know that they are the person I refer to people all the time. So that being said, let's get into another question. Why is it that Sac's Fire Safety Zillow Fire Factor rating is so much better than most other areas of California? Is it because you sell insurance here, Javier? Is that why?
Yes, absolutely. Sacramento, they're really, if you live in East Sac, or you live in Rosemont, or you live in College Greens, there really isn't any fire risk, right? There's not that many trees, and there's not green belts, and there's not hills behind us. It's pretty flat, right? So I would assume that's why we get a really low fire risk.
All right, guys. Aaron, any final questions for Javier?
I actually, this is perfect because this is a hot tip that I learned from you, and a lot of people don't know about this, and I know for a fact that none of the other insurance people in town do this for their clients. tell everybody about the thing that you do for everybody, that you hooked my mom up with it. Like, that's, by the way, how much we trust Javier, is like, he did my mom's homeowner's insurance, and she actually had to make a claim on this, and she got $10,000 back on, like, you know, it would have cost her another 10 G's basically. Tell everybody about that.
So whether you know it or don't know it, if you come to me and you have an older home built in 70s, 80s, even older, I always include this coverage. It's called service line coverage. Service line coverage provides coverage outside of your house, because homeowners insurance provides coverage inside your box, right? If a water loss happens inside your house, service line actually provides coverage from the sewage pipes that run from your city to the main lines. So if you have trees in your house and you get tree roots and you end up that line busted, the insurance company will pay up to $10,000 with a $500 deductible out of pocket. That the service line deductible is different than the policy deductible. It'll cost you $500, and the insurance company will pay up to $10,000 to dig up your front lawn, dig up your cement, and replace that line, and you are good to go.
Yeah, no, that was a huge bonus for my mom. I want to say the total bill was 25 G's, and she got 10 back from the insurance company. So I mean, that's a chunk of change. And you know, most insurance brokers in town, they don't even care about, you know, adding that on for their clients. So definitely, thanks for doing that, and you know, giving you a shout out on that for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. I especially when homes, you know, 1920, 30s, and I'm like, hey, I know you guys sewage inspected, right? But like, here's my quote versus somebody else's quote. I'll tell you the differences, and then you decide which you want to go with. And then most people are amazed that service line coverage exists, right? Because they're like, wait, you'll cover my sewage lines? I'm like, yeah, absolutely, up to $10,000. They're like, okay, sold. I want to do yours.
Thank you, Javier, for coming on board, man. And guys, listen, for lending, hit Aaron. For insurance, hit Javier. If you guys have any questions about this broadcast specifically, put it down below in the comments. You guys, thank you very much for coming on board. And like I said, Aaron, I'll talk to you after the show. All right, let's get going on. We have some more questions. We have more show to do. So here we are where we're looking at mortgage rates right now. And here's the thing. Rates are very much basically based on like your credit and all that other stuff. This is the interesting part right now. Because of the bond market, we're looking at a little bit of a dip. It could be good news for all those people who are looking to buy a home. So that's kind of a little bit of a chunk of good news. Now let's get on to some of the stuff. Now, first of all, also, I wanted to give a quick hold on. Let me see if I can get these out of here. Gone and gone. All right. So there we go. Okay. So first, I wanted to shout out to Lacey. And for the most part, what we're looking at is that Meritage is going to have a brand new spanking community coming out, and it's going to be a community that we're going to see in Galt. Galt has been labeled as the best little small town in all of California, so I'm really excited to see that one, and that's the one I should have details for that sooner than later. So I'm super excited about that. And also, like, we're going to be featuring some communities that aren't even out in the Sacramento area. So if it's you and you're thinking to yourself, I want to buy a new home and I just want to get a little bit of the inside scoop on some of these communities, we're going to be starting to do that. We've been reaching out to a lot of the sales associates telling us, send us your promotions, send us the hot floor plans, send us communities that nobody else knows about. So this is the stuff that we're doing right here. In fact, right now we're working with Toll Brothers to actually price their 2 model homes up at Toll Brothers Hidden Ridge, so we can actually put those on the market in videos and everything too. We're hopefully going to be listing them, hopefully doing some business with Toll Brothers, but you never know. Like I said, there's not a guarantee on that, but we're trying to get those things for you guys, so you guys have the inside scoop, so you guys have a little bit of a head start on that stuff. So I'm super excited about that. All right, we got a question here. Boom. I'm shopping for a new home. Is it better for me to get a pre-approval letter before or after I sell my current property? In my case, I still have a rental property I'm considering selling. I would say, here's the thing. My biggest thing for a lot of people right now, and you know, a lot of lenders might not be happy with this, but this is kind of the way it is. If you're 100% thinking about going new homes, right? I probably would maybe talk to a lender and see where I'm looking as far as like price point, but this is the thing. If you're going to go with a new home community and there's insane incentives, 9 out of 10 times you're going to go with their lender. And I think their lender is going to guide you in the idea of whether you sell your house first when you're on a contract or whether you wait. That would be just my 2 cents, but I've seen it more than not. A lot of my clients will talk to like an Aaron, talk to like, anyone and get out there. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, like they're going with a new home builder's lender and they go in that direction. So that would be just myself. Now, again, we do have some amazing lenders that can help you calculate the price to see what it looks like in both scenarios before you sell or after you sell. So feel free to reach out when you talk a little further. Still paying off the mortgage on the rental. Also, it does matter exactly about which one you're looking at, like what price point you're looking at buying. So just feel free to reach out. We can talk a little bit about it. Jason, tell the insurance commission is an appointed probation rather than the elected position. The big insurance companies won't be back, which would bring price competition back into insurance. Yeah, I think based on what I've got from Javier, we're looking at like maybe a 15% increase across the board. The biggest thing that for me is, here's the thing. In El Dorado Hills, as you're noticing, we're building like El Dorado Hills, Grant Bay, certain areas like Loomis, we have houses that are over $3 million. And so if the California Fair Plan maxes out at $3 million, and let's say you buy a house for 3.5 or 4, I mean, that's money out of your pocket. So that's kind of a crazy one right there. And I think we as Sacramento, we're not used to that. And so we're running into that whole area. And like, I'm not saying that's for everyone. I myself, not that spendy, but at the same time, it's something to be kind of taking note of. All right, let's get into it. Roseville is very average. It is still averaging $375 a square foot. I think it's highway robbery. I haven't checked Elk Grove, but I've been in Roseville for 40 years and love the county as well as the city. Just to make sure to buy a 20-year-old home that has no longer has Melrose fees. One of the things that I will tell you, and that's kind of the gold mine of this whole thing, is if you can find a house in an area like in a Roseville, Elk Grove, or a Folsom, like a Briggs Ranch, right? No HOAs and no Melrose. I mean, you're saving so much on that alone. So those are the gold mines. If you can find them, you can find those communities that don't have HOAs or Melrose. You can buy more house or save more money. So it's nice. All right, if you're moving to Sacramento, California, watch this. No more insurance coverage. Guys, it's going to probably get worse a lot when it comes to insurance as far as that goes. Michelle Drews from my team, we just closed a deal in Pilot Hill, if you guys saw the video. And the first quote the new owner got was for $45,000 a year. So just be very, very wary right now. Check your home insurance. If you fall in love with a property, just really, really just be careful out there. Is Elk Grove, California worth the money? I miss the farms of Grant Line Road, but amazing to see new areas developed. It's a double-edged sword, I guess you can call it. I think that a lot of people are understanding the fact that we are growing. I just hope we save a lot of this land, because I think a lot of people made the move to areas like Folsom, to Elk Grove, to Rockland, because it was just such a beautiful resort-style vibe. And it'd be a shame if we built so much new homes and we built so much that we lost all that. Because for me, when I first got up here, it was like checking out Folsom. It was before all the new homes in Folsom Ranch happened too. And it was just beautiful to see that much of Northern California was like untouched. So hopefully we leave a lot more of that. But yeah, it's going to be crazy, the new development. You got Elk Grove's the train station. You got the Sac Zoo moving to Elk Grove. What do you got? You got X Games, A's coming in. You got like the Whitney Ranch Retail Center. You got all this stuff happening in Folsom Ranch. 3 indoor hockey rinks. Who knew? It's going to be a crazy, crazy 2025, 2026. All right. If you're moving to California, watch this. Yes. 10 trillion in debt. Previous administration added 8. Current administration, tariffs. The economy probably at this point. Yeah. I mean, our debt is just nuts right now. All right, say goodbye to HOA fees in El Dorado. Pretty nice in Bar J Ranch. Homes are more spread out and have generous lots, 3-car garages, albeit they're mostly tract homes. I love it's close to El Dorado Hills and Folsom, but also it's close to Shingle Springs and Placerville. Yards here are not as well kept as El Dorado and Folsom. Shame on me. Guys, here's the thing. If you want a feeling of living in El Dorado Hills, but you don't want to deal with like HOAs, you don't want to deal with Melrose, and you want to keep the price point in the 5s and the low 6s, guys, Bar J, so nice. I would definitely check it out. All right, Housing Wires. Okay, I want to know what you guys think about this comment straight up. What do you think about this? 2024, in my opinion, I think a lot of people were holding on to their interest rate. I still think we're going to see a lot of that this year, but I want to know what you guys think. All right. Is Cameron Park under the FAIR plan? Some parts are, some parts aren't. What you're going to find in Cameron Park, just like in El Dorado Hills, the further away you are, the more likely you are to basically get on the California FAIR plan. If you're like far from a fire station, no fire hydrant, there's not a lot of access, previous owners maybe did something they shouldn't have, age of the home, all those things are going to factor in. So I think based on what I'm seeing, Cameron Park, yeah, the further out you are, the further remote you are, the chances are you're going to be on the California FAIR plan. But there are some communities I know in Cameron Park that aren't on the FAIR plan as well too. So it's just about the address. And I would probably, before pulling the trigger on anything, I'd probably reach out to Javier either way. All right, Elk Grove versus Folsom versus Roseville. Elk Grove's always had waves of folks fleeing BA. This last one in 2020 presents its biggest I've ever seen. Elk Grove is never good at playing jobs outside the healthcare. Elk Grove has never had good paying jobs outside healthcare and scarce government agencies located in it. All other jobs are retail service sector. So for anyone moving here, be sure your remote job is 300% secure. I'd say the other one too, people forget about. Number one is probably the new one, the Sky Casino. I know Sky River Casino. I know they're hiring and they're bringing in a lot of jobs. The other one that's going to be kind of crazy that people don't realize, Elk Grove Unified School District hires a lot of people as well. And also Apple is located in the 758. So those are also employers in the Elk Grove area. All right, KB guys, if you were looking for a really nice community in Elk Grove and you were looking maybe in the high 4s and low 5s, there was literally just one community. Yes. The Melrose were higher than most, but at the same time, this is what Lexington was. And so from the high 500s, those are the remaining floor plans. But for the most part, this thing started selling in the high 4s and it just took off like crazy. And now at this moment in Elk Grove, we're not really seeing anything that's underneath $600,000 for new, which is scary. And it probably will continue that trend. Because like I said, Elk Grove, and especially the 757 are just monster right now. All right, if you're moving to Sacramento, watch this. I still can't get past the 1.63 taxes on newer homes. Ridiculous that builders pass that one on. If you can afford the house, these additional costs make it not worthwhile. Guys, I'll be honest with you, like Melrose are the biggest stumbling block. A lot of people from the Bay Area, a lot of people from other areas don't know what Melrose are. It's a taxable bond that all the new homes have basically in Sacramento. I haven't seen any new home builder that doesn't have Melrose. So if you see Melrose and you're wondering what that is, that's an additional payment you have to do pretty much every single month on top of what your mortgage is. So it can really shrink down the amount of house you can buy. So just be really careful about when you look at the Melrose. Don't take it as something, I don't know what that is. Find out, call my team. We'll tell you about exactly the lowest Melrose in the area, the best bang for your buck Melrose as well too. But Melrose also are the reason why some of these communities that look like they're in the middle of Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome get built up. So yes, no one likes to pay Melrose. Should the builders be paying the Melrose? Yeah, absolutely. They're making enough money from the houses. But what does the Melrose do? The Melrose builds fire departments, police departments, roads, parks, and everything too. That way, your community will be worth more money. Your house will be worth more money. So just so you guys know. Boom. My sister lives in Rockland. I've learned to really appreciate the area. I live in South San Francisco Bay Area. If my sister's place was where I live, I would easily be 3x or 5x the price. My only complaint is summer heat. Overall, it seems like a great place to live. I like Rockland. I think a lot of people love Rockland. Rockland is one of those spots, guys, that is kind of like Folsom. You know, I'd say the price point is a little bit lower. You can still find those cute little communities also in Rockland that don't have HOAs, don't have Melrose. But you can also find some amazing like golf course community, Whitney Oaks. You can find one of my favorite master plan communities, Whitney Ranch up there as well too, with 82 HOAs. And I know HOAs aren't great. No one likes them. But for that $82, you get like pools, cabanas, barbecue, communities, and a really all-star community. So I like Rockland myself. All right, if you're moving to Sacramento, watch this. The Rail Yard has environmental soil concerns. That's why it's building in the area, such as the Kaiser campus gets delayed. Yeah, there are delays. I will find more about this out for you guys. All right, if you're moving to Sacramento, California, watch this. I would not be able to afford a home today if I had not bought several years ago. Guys, a lot of people do feel that exact same way. The fact that right now we're moving into a situation where Sacramento 3-4 years ago was seen as affordable. And now when you throw the word affordable in Sacramento, it just is very much a word that sets people off. What do you guys think? Is California still affordable? Is Sacramento still affordable? Or are we hitting an age where now affordability means Plumas Lake, Linda, California, and Olivehurst? Also, guys, if you guys are enjoying the broadcast, please smash that like button. It would mean a whole lot. All right, next one. If you're moving to Sacramento, California, watch this. El Dorado Hills gotta love fire insurance and HOAs. Honestly, I would say make sure you check with the address. Make sure that, one of the things I have been noticing in El Dorado Hills too is a lot of people are looking at houses and assuming the fire insurance is crazy. Maybe the HOAs are out of control too. I would say for the most part, always double check the address. Hit up Javier and just say, hey, I know El Dorado Hills is brutal with fire insurance. Can you check out this address? I've seen people who've done that, who've gotten great deals because certain houses they assumed were going to be high in fire insurance and they found out they weren't. So just double check the numbers before you make assumptions on houses. You could score a nice deal. All right, based on what's happening in Southern California now, I would live far away from the forest. That's another reason to live in Folsom. EDH would be a buffer between Folsom and the forest. Here's the thing for me. I love El Dorado Hills and I love Folsom. I think both those areas are just phenomenal. I think El Dorado's price point, $900,000 and above for the average house up there, that's getting up there, and I think that's only going to increase. I think right now we stalled a little bit just because people are freaked out about fire insurance. Now, Folsom on the other side, everyone is looking at Folsom, and the thing is, Folsom is strategically so smart by where they build their fire departments and how they structure everything in Folsom. Folsom Ranch, they're making all the right moves. Now, I know a lot of people might say, no, they're building too many houses. I get it. But what they're trying to do right now, the only biggest negative I see is the traffic on East Bidwell. If they fix that up, make sure the water gets there and we're good, I think you're going to see a pretty amazing area in Folsom come 2030. What do you guys think? Are we overbuilding in Folsom Ranch or is it going in the right direction? Let me know in the comments below. All right, next one. Thanks, Mark. Tough times. I wonder what the percentage of homes sold in the last 12 months are investors or second homes. I don't think we're seeing a lot of them. I've got a lot of investors that came out. We're looking at new homes. And based on the interest rates, they just did not pull the trigger. All right, seems like we're about 2 years away from affordability. Hopefully prices plateau, rates drop, and wages go up. That would be amazing. I bought a home in the late 2023 in Rockland and brought in roommates to make it work. I rented out the first home in Roseville. Dude, I love house hacking. House hacking is definitely something I would have gotten into back in the day. People have a creative approach to home ownership with a new lens. I think that that's probably what's going to be happening more and more in the world in general. I think the idea that just one person gets out of school, gets a job, buys a house, I think that day and age is over. I think it's more about just being creative as far as house hacking and just putting a priority in certain things in order to kind of make this happen, like get roommates, like, rent out properties. Like I heard this one guy who said, hey, I bought my first property because I bought an entire house in an ADU unit and I lived in the ADU. I rented out the entire house and it paid my mortgage and I lived rent free. I lived basically mortgage free in my own house. It's going to get creative to basically become a homeowner going forward. Folsom Ranch. I'd like to visit Folsom. We have kids at school. Schools are very important. Schools tend to be one of the most important things that people ask for when we get on the phone with them. All right. If you move to California, cheaper than Virginia, nicer weather. You guys love what you do for work. That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the nice comments, by the way. As a person that has knocked on a lot of doors in both areas, I would say this is Folsom and El Dorado Hills. As a person that has knocked on a lot of doors in both areas, I would say Folsom is by far away the best spot to live, simply because it's family oriented and the people that live there are very approachable. I like it. I've never come across like really like when I came in from the Bay Area. I didn't know what to expect in Sacramento. And I've always really found the people here in the Sacramento area, El Dorado Hills and Folsom, really, really nice, really, really friendly. In fact, at times, my clients get a little spooked out because they're a little over friendly. Like, where are you from? Oh my God. But for me, I love that stuff. It's kind of how I grew up in Marin before Marin was overtaken by a bunch of people from San Jose. And then Marin changed a little bit. But I like the area here. And I think you guys might be surprised when you come out here to visit how friendly people are here. Sacramento regret. Folsom is still in Sac County. Terrible. Better to be in Placer. Here's the thing, guys. If you don't know the difference between Sacramento County and Placer County, just take a look at both of them. Feel it out. Go to Targets, Costco's, and all that stuff. The biggest thing I can tell you, though, is the difference between Sacramento and County. The thing that sways a lot of people One or the other is SMUD versus PG&E. I mean, PG&E has just gotten so horrific that a lot of people like the Sacramento Municipal Utility District. You save about half your bill, and we don't have those brownouts. So that's it. Okay. Cheaper home insurance. Hey, Mark, what do you think the fires in Southern California are going to do to Northern California's home insurance rates? Yeah, based on what I got from Javier, I'm thinking like a 15% increase. That is not going to be good. All right. If you're moving to Sacramento, California, watch this great video. I appreciate it. Guys, I'm going to be dropping another video on Friday at 7, so tune in for that one. Sacramento regret. Beware before moving to El Dorado Hills in Folsom, California. El Dorado Hills is in a fire zone. Scary. I do think that a lot of people right now are veering a little bit from El Dorado just because of fire insurance right now. EDH is ultra rich. Folsom is rich. EDH also has a dark is, yeah, okay. So sorry about that. Sacramento regret. We live in a terraced hillside in Folsom Ranch, and the view is amazing. On the south side is the 50. They have terraced hillside neighborhoods and have flat lots with drainage pointing towards the streets. Over on Serpa, they don't, and all the homes are carved out of the hills. This makes a lot more strenuous walk for the back and a lot to the front. It also sets the stage for several hillside erosions during several rains. You know, here's the thing about Folsom, I'll tell you guys, whatever you're looking for, you can find in Folsom. You want a house on a hill that has epic views, you got Serpa. You want a house that's a little bit more flattened out, like the newer home communities, like New Home Community, Gold Hill, Silvercrest, there's some for sales over there. Woodside's coming out with their new community over like on the new home stuff. Lakeview communities on the other side by Sundahl. And then you got other stuff like American River Canyon North. And then you have Briggs Ranch. You got some really amazing communities in Folsom. I would say Folsom could be that spot that I say has the most variety of lifestyles in their communities. Empire Ranch as well too. So Folsom's got something for everyone. All right, what do we got? Placer County is better than Sacramento County. All right, everyone's got opinions. They don't want to sell. Okay, I have plenty of houses available north in Thomas if anyone's looking. Luxury apartments, Costco, and other retail grocery options in the area. Come check it out. I would say this. I've always loved North and Thomas. I've loved the area. I think being that close to the airport and being close to downtown, right in that area, I think the idea, yeah, you have flood insurance, but it's really not that much in relation to like other insurance. I would say the idea that you could have, you're close to short-term rentals, long-term rentals, and all that stuff. I really do like North and Thomas. I think also with everything happening in downtown, North and Thomas is so close to downtown. So the A's coming to West Sac. You got the X Games coming into Sacramento. I think the Thomas is due. All right, why Sacramento is this? Oh, and also the thing about Natomas is like $50,000 to $100,000 cheaper than Elk Grove, which I love too. All right, why is Sacramento the secret to affordable living in California? It's nice to hear from someone that has experienced the wonderful life in Folsom. Great job, Mark. Thank you, I appreciate it. And like I said, guys, I am clinging to what I say all the time. I think Sacramento is the best bang for your buck in California. I think, you know, I get it. I love the Southern California weather. But if you're looking for the California lifestyle and you don't want to spend the money like in the Bay Area, guys, check out Sacramento. Check out places like El Dorado Hills, Folsom, Rockland, Roseville, West Sacramento. And then all of a sudden, all the core areas like downtown, you know, we just got so much, guys. Reach out to my team. We'll give you a great tour. All right, Sacramento exposed. Folsom paid this guy. He's talking like 50 is in the parking lot during traffic hours. Shopping in Rockland is way better than Folsom. Folsom has a Palladio in Town Center. That's 10% of the shopping in Rockland, Roseville, which is basically the same place. Folsom is nice. I prefer Rockland. Been in Sac for over 4 years. Guys, here's a beautiful part about the videos that I'm doing. Everyone's got an opinion. I kid you not. There's so many people who love Rockland over Folsom. So many people who love Folsom over Rockland. But that also says a lot about the Sacramento area. There's not just one hot spot. There's a whole bunch. Every spot is for different people, and everyone's loving the area they're moving into. Sacramento's really doing a great job. All right, better place to live. And Folsom didn't pay me. I like Rockland just as much as I like Folsom. All right, better place to live. All right, this is Elk Grove and Roseville. Assuming driving, this is El Dorado. Wait, no, which one is this? Sorry about that. Assuming driving the office or family is not a question, I would believe that Roseville will be a better option for most, although both are great. And that was Roseville versus Elk Grove. Roseville versus Elk Grove. Like I said, I'm going to be dropping a video on Friday. It was one of the hardest videos I've ever done because I literally could have gone on for about 2 hours. Roseville and Elk Grove, right? Price points somewhat similar. Demand is somewhat similar. One's closer to the Bay Area, one has better shopping, one is in SMUD, the other one's Roseville Electric. A lot of them, both areas have great new home building. It's a hard one. Both areas are fantastic. I would say check them out. But yeah, I like both areas. Sacramento regret. East Bidwell is a zoo and going to get worse. Living in El Dorado Hills is a bit more rural feeling, and it's a bit more conservative. EDH is a different county than Folsom, and EDH is not a city. Reed, there's only one county. Yeah, I get it. In El Dorado County, yeah, PG&E is a total ripoff, and EID not far behind. If you live in El Dorado Hills, you'd be doing a lot more driving to get on the freeway, and you'll be doing all your shopping in Folsom. Here's the thing that I will say straight up is what you say about East Bidwell with the new homes and just East Bidwell in general, totally agree with you. I would say both those areas, maybe like 10 years ago, Folsom, El Dorado Hills were somewhat like the similar kind of vibe. But I think, price point wise and I think lifestyle wise, they're kind of changing. So I would definitely say check out both. I would say go to Folsom, go to the Palladio, go to Mas Tacos, make a day of it, right? And then I'd flip over, go to El Dorado Hills, go up to North Serrano, take a drive down Greenview, check out some of the new home building, and maybe go to the town center and see which one is better for you. They're different spots, different vibes, different lifestyles for sure. All right, Sacramento regret. This is a great content market. Sorry, I got to learn how to speak. This is great content, Mark. I live in Blackstone and own solar panels, so PG isn't a big problem for us. I also love the town center for shopping, dining, etc. The Blackstone Clubhouse is fantastic too. We use it every week. Again, great content. Keep it up. Thanks, Ben. I really appreciate you taking the time to comment. Ben and I might be doing some collabs in the near future, so stay tuned. But like I said, Blackstone, a lot of people like the community. It's basically a lot of Lennar homes, but so many people, Lennar did some Lennar communities I'm not a big fan of, but this Blackstone community, I will tell you, stunning, spread out. I really, really like it. All right, cheaper home insurance. I know Roseville holds the highest rating for flood controls. I'm not sure about Folsom or El Dorado Hills. I do believe El Dorado Hills and Folsom are fine as well too, based on what I got from Javier. All right, Sacramento regret. Great accurate video. What city is better? It all depends on the stage of life. Honestly, I've lived in Folsom for 30 years and raised an incredible family with great schools and sports. But now that I've aged into my 50s, EDH fits me better. Crime, traffic, culture in Folsom is changing and doesn't suit me. Folsom definitely is changing. I think with all the new home building and everything in Folsom, the pace in Folsom, I think, is going to change to being a lot faster. Where El Dorado Hills, I think the pace is going to be a little slower, resorty. And I think Folsom is going to become, just like a little bit of a faster paced lifestyle. So, it's like I said, check out both areas and see which one fits you better. But like I said, I love both areas. It's just so hard for me to do these videos. Okay, Sacramento Exposed. Beware before moving to Rockland or Folsom. Oh, by the way, guys, if you're enjoying this broadcast, smash that like button, comment, all that kind of fun stuff. It would mean a whole lot to me. Can you do Roseville versus Natomas versus Elk Grove? I'm going to drop on Friday a Roseville versus Elk Grove. It's going to be a good one. I literally feel like I only did a quarter of the video that I should have done. I'm going to throw Natomas in the mix. I'll probably be doing a Natomas versus Elk Grove video in the future as well, too. All right, you forgot to mention EID, El Dorado Irrigation District, and their confiscatory here versus City of Folsom's Water District. EID's water rates are a lot higher. Okay, I didn't know that. So also, guys, if you're in El Dorado Hills, how bad is your water rate? Because my water, I'm in SMUD, I'm in Gold River, not bad, not really that bad, except, of course, if you have a lot of watering to do, which I don't. All right, SMUD wins in Folsom. PG&E is outrageous. I get a lot of that almost every single day. Sacramento regret. How about buying land in the area? Is it worth it? How about Wilton? It's excellent school and calm lifestyle. Guys, I love those areas. I like the Wiltons. I like the Galts. I like the Wheatlands. I like areas like that because I see what Sacramento was prior and what it's grown into. And I think Sacramento is going to expand. As far as land goes, always, if you're going to purchase a piece of land and you're going to build like $1 million house, make sure that you're around other homes that support the comps. That's the biggest thing, right? Comps, utilities, and just look at development plans as well too. I've run into a few people who built custom homes, and next thing you know, they looked at it and they're like, "Oh, the road's coming in here, and we gotta sell off a piece of our land." It just make sure you know what's happening, what's going to be built in that area in the near future, because you really can't. Some plans change. So see what what you can do with that. And also, this is the hugest thing, and this is what we work with all our custom home people as well too. Make sure that if you're buying a piece of land and you plan on building your dream home and you're saying to yourself, we're going to build our luxury house, it's going to be huge, it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Make sure that even if you're spending a little bit more on the land, what you end up building, whatever you want it to appraise for, it's in an area that supports it. That is so huge. All right. Now, guys, this is going to be the thumbnail for the video I'm going to be dropping on Friday at 7 p.m. It's about a 32-minute video. We're going to go in maps. We're going to talk schools. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of these two amazing spots in the Sacramento Metro. Kind of same price point, kind of same demand, a lot of new home building, and really monsters in our area. So tune in and check out the video on Friday at 7. Also, guys, if you enjoyed this broadcast, if you enjoyed all the stuff Javier was talking to you about, Aaron's time and my time, please like, comment, subscribe, and all that kind of fun stuff. And wait for this video to drop on Friday at 7. It's going to be a good one. Okay, guys, that is the show for the evening. If you guys enjoyed it, if you enjoyed Javier, all his input, Aaron as well too, smash that like button. And also, any questions and comments you might have, put them below because we definitely answer them, and we'll probably bring them into next week's live show as well too. Now, guys, if you're thinking about moving to the area, please reach out to our team. We'd love to work with you, educate you on the area. Sacramento is an interesting one, and it's kind of difficult to navigate if you're not working with the right team. Also, guys, if you are thinking about listing your home, reach out to the team. We're not your stick you're pulling the ground and pray that it sells, guys. We'll get you more eyeballs from the Bay Area than any other team in the Sacramento area. Now, here's a playlist over there of previous lives that I've done as well too to get you educated in the area. Until next time, guys, this is Mark. Remember, smash that like button. See you guys next video.